Wirecast has come a long way, and we're going to be sitting down with somebody who's been with it for much of that journey. So I'm excited to bring on a very well-known tech blogger, writer, and personality, Mr. Jeffrey Powers. On today's episode, he knows just about anything you want to know about tech, everything from your phone, your Roku in your living room, all the way up to enterprise virtualized machines. So I think we'll be getting into a little bit of all of it today. Should be a lot of fun, and we'll be covering some of the history of Wirecast. Thanks for joining us. This is another episode of Wirecast Live. I'll be back right after the opening credits. Welcome to another episode of Wirecast Live. I'm your host, Andrew Haley, and each week you can find us here live on Facebook and YouTube at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time. And you can find us or by subscribing to any of those channels. We're also live on Periscope on Twitter. And you can follow, like, or subscribe. Please share this out. And if you are joining us in the chat, feel free to chat in on YouTube or on Facebook. Leave a comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Tell us, say hi, just, check in with us. Tell us how you're doing. And also, if you don't like social media, if you're one of those people who just doesn't want to deal with all those notifications, you know what you should do? You should sign up for our email list, because we'll just send you an email directly to your inbox, and you can click on the link. No fuss, no muss. Sign up right here. That was an extra W. I can do this. www.telestream.net/wirecastlive. And just click subscribe. We won't spam you. We'll just send you an email once a week about this time, letting you know when we're live, as well as telling you about future guests, future show topics. It's going to be a lot of fun. So those are the ways to find us. Speaking of upcoming shows and things that you'll want to definitely mark your calendar, next week we have Brawdy, and we're going to be talking about how to help and serve others and build your business through live streaming. This guy has an amazing story. He's a really fantastic, amazing guy. He has gone through a number of incredible personal, journeys and travails and, travesties, and he's risen stronger, and he's doing live streaming to help others. And we really want to bring him on the show and talk a little bit about how he's doing it, what inspired him, and hopefully inspire you as you go out on your own live streaming journeys. And then, not to give it away too soon, but at the end of the month, on November 30th, we have a fairly well-known guy in the name of Trey Ratcliff. He is a very well-known photographer. You can also find him, I believe he holds the #1 followed male on Pinterest. It's a pretty big deal if you're in those circles. He's also got a great eye, and he does amazing stuff with drones. He does amazing stuff with photography and video and live streaming. So we'll be getting into using live drones in live streaming. It's pretty cool, and I think he's one of the few people in the world that can speak to this at such a high level. So please don't miss that. That'll be November 30th. We'll be sending out a lot more promotion and information about that, maybe some contests and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Definitely want to check those out. And again, the best place to get notified of all that is from our email list or by following or liking our social media channels. Okay, without further ado, I would like to bring on our guest for today. If you haven't heard of him, you don't know who he is. Oh, there he is. Deliberately popped him on early, didn't let me do my intro. So, Jeff, you're just going to have to let me do my intro. Sorry. Okay. Geekazine.com. It's right there on your shirt, right? You are... Yes, wrong side. Sorry, you missed it. Other side. It's the mirroring effect. It's the fact that, Skype mirrors these things. You almost got it. Yes, so, and right there. You are the Geekazine in person. You're personified geek, Jeff. When I think of somebody who's techie, I think you were the first person I ever saw with a Google Glass, literally in public, walking around like it was just a normal thing. And I'm like, what is that? And you're like, you looked at me like I was an idiot. There it is, right there. The Google Glass. Yes, it looks fantastic. You still rock it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Jeffrey Powers.
I got to take the dust off this thing first. So
haven't used it in a while, huh?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Did you order away special, or were you on the short list of sort of influencers who got an early version of it?
I had to. Well, no, I had to get myself. I took a 30-hour turnaround trip from Madison, Wisconsin to Venice Beach, California. Picked up my Google Glass and came back and was about $2,500
All told?
less. Yeah,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
told. Yeah,
Including
that was back
airfare?
in yeah airfare. I didn't get a hotel because it was just a turnaround trip, so I just was in the airport for a couple hours and then slept on the plane back.
That's dedication, man. Like,
Yeah.
so whatever happened to the Google Glass? Tell me, while we're on it, what happened to that?
Well, let me tell you a story about Snapchat and their Snap glasses.
Oh, I
No,
recently heard this in
yeah.
the news. Yeah.
No, the bottom line is nobody really wants to. I don't want to wear glasses, but now I can't see anything. I
Hmm.
can't see you, and so you need glasses, and nobody wants to wear these. It's the bottom line, and it's you got to get around that until that happens. Then anything like that, unless you absolutely need it, then it's just going to be an extra thing.
Just an extra
So.
thing. It's a fun, cool toy. But you clearly believed in it. You wanted to get out there. You got an early copy. You flew across the country, turnaround trip.
hmm
What sort of once you tried it out, were you just massively disappointed? Were you just
Oh no,
no?
yeah, no, I wasn't disappointed. It was everything that they said it would be, except for mine kept breaking.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the eighth generation, minus two, which were the technically upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
So I broke six pair of Google Glass simply
Wow.
by sweating on them. Yeah.
No, so they're not very durable. That was another. Maybe I'm sure that's something I'll have to solve.
Well, yeah, they were also in beta, so the idea was once it came out, then they'd have all everything cleaned up and taken care of. Like with an iPhone, now you have all the electronics coated, so they're a little bit waterproof, and that would have happened with Google Glass to
Yeah.
that point when it became a consumer model.
Makes sense. And I always thought a better name for those would be like Google Frames or like Google No Glass, because there's like literally there's almost no glass in that thing. I mean, in fact, I don't even think
Exactly.
that thing is glass. It's probably plastic.
Yeah, it's
Um,
all plastic. They did have glasses models towards the end.
they did. They're
And
starting to
and
put prescriptions.
Yeah, and Google Glass is still not dead. I mean, there's still an enterprise version of Google Glass, which just came out this last year,
Really?
for like warehouses to use. Like what was it? Virgin Galactic tried a series where they had all their flight attendants wearing them so they could answer questions or find stuff. So there's still a lot of good use for a augmented reality type glass.
Hmm.
It's just that this version of Google Glass is dead.
It's not mainstream. And
Yeah,
the purpose-built applications. I think that's where we're starting to see a lot of the early AR headsets. The HoloLens and the Glass, and a bunch of them really are. They realized, okay, maybe we shouldn't go to the general market. We need to sort of niche build because they are useful, like you said, right? There's things that they do that
exactly.
are fantastic, but you're just not going to walk around all day wearing them just for just general life stuff, right? You're going to do them for
Yeah,
a specific job, something that makes your job or life easier for a task, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there are some people that will wear, and there are still people that wear these on a daily basis
Mm-hmm.
because they believe in them and they can still stream from them, and there's still some sort of relevance. You can take a picture from it or get directions, tether it to your phone. It's a Bluetooth device. It does have bone conductive sound, or you can plug in a headset so you can hear what's going on. So it's not dead, but it is older technology now.
Got it. Okay, so with that sort of segue aside, I want to introduce you a little bit to our audience. Can you talk? I mean, obviously, this is text is like in your blood. Like this is your life. This is what you live and breathe. I mean, unless there's some secret double life you're living, but it seems like you have ever since I've even heard of you. You've always been just so involved with technology. And looking at your YouTube channel and geekazine.com, you do so many great reviews on latest gadgets and tech. I just love watching your videos, and I love following kind of your thoughts on things that come out, and you seem to be really ahead of the curve on stuff. So can you talk a little bit about when did this start for you? How did you sort of begin Geekazine, and what you're doing today?
Gosh, you're making me blush. Um, okay, well, the short answer is I've been around. Actually, the funny thing is, 2 days ago I celebrated 10 years of Geekazine.
Nice,
Um,
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Started as a podcaster. I was doing music podcasts, and I decided to switch to tech because I was a tech. I was an IT admin for about 15 years, and I decided to go into tech podcasts and created a technical podcast, which basically was a rundown of consumer technology, and then started Geekazine 10 years ago, 2 days ago.
mm-hmm.
And I did that. I did those as podcasts for probably 2 weeks when I decided, well, I better get into video and I better get into video on live stream. And at that time, there were a couple live streaming outfits out there, and the big one, of course, was Ustream,
Mm-hmm.
which now is owned by IBM. And Ustream was a great way for people to get on here and be able to show people what's going on. And of course, somebody like Chris Perillo, a good friend of mine who's been doing live stream forever. I was able to set up my own thing using a Mac and a thing called CamTwist at the time, and put together a Ustream live stream back in late 2007, early 2008.
Ah, okay. And you were using the Ustream software?
I was using CamTwist at the time
Okay.
with my Mac G1, I think it was. I can't.
But
It's
CamTwist
been a
wasn't
long
like
time ago.
a streaming software. It was more like, wasn't it? I thought it was more of
Yeah,
like a
no, it was.
virtual camera software.
You're right. It was virtual camera, but yeah, then I don't remember how it got into Ustream
Ustream.
because that was a
Okay.
long time ago.
Right.
But
No worries.
I guess it would do some sort of screen capture.
Ah,
It,
okay.
it, it found a way to get there because
Interesting.
they're still up on Ustream too, which is really freaky to watch myself 10 years ago. And of course I'm like this because everything's all choppy
Choppy, bad res. Yeah, no
yeah,
variant. Yeah.
horrible res. It was a great time, but yeah, and that got the live streaming bug into me,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't until 2009 that I met Christina, who no longer works for Telestream,
Yeah, she's a bit
and
moving now.
yeah, yeah, and we got to talking, and I met her at I think it was one of the blog worlds, and we got to talking, and we talked about streaming, and one thing led to another, and next thing I know, I had a copy of Wirecast sitting on my computer. It's like
Mm-hmm.
this is sweet. So, and there was back then a lot of limitations. There was no Facebook Live, there was no YouTube Live,
Right.
there was just Ustream and Livestream,
That was about it.
and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. QuickTime streaming servers.
Yeah. And then and oh yeah, and Streamcast through Nullsoft with the llama.
So you must have been pretty excited when YouTube came into the game with their live streaming because you were
Oh,
probably right there.
I was ecstatic. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still place for Ustream, there's still place for Livestream. But the problem is I work with a lot of enterprise tech companies,
Mm-hmm.
and if you go in with a streaming service that's owned by IBM, they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna go, they're really nice. They're not gonna
Yeah.
sit there and go, no, 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 you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you definitely want to have something that's a little bit more neutral. And yeah, I suppose Google can be one of those things that, figure that is a kind of competition in the enterprise space, but it's more accepted
Right.
and easier to set up, and you work on one platform. And since I have close to 12,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, which you can subscribe right now if you want to. Go ahead, youtube.com/geekazine,
Okay.
and then we put up live streams as we go.
Yeah, so you kind of got into Wirecast about 2009, and you were using Ustream and eventually YouTube, streamed to YouTube as well.
Hmm.
And at what point did you switch? I mean, are you still doing what point did you leave your 9 to 5 job? Did you make that switch somewhere around? Are you still doing the 9 to 5? Are you still computer tech? Are you doing this full time?
Actually, the funny thing is, it was the next day. The day after I started Geekazine,
Yeah.
there was it, it was not pretty, but I was not sad. Let's
Okay.
just put it that way.
So the 10-year
So
anniversary of you becoming a free man was
yeah,
yesterday.
Yeah. Well, technically, I didn't. I went back to contract work for a little while,
Hmm.
and then I just posted a video about this 2 days ago on my channel. You can watch it,
Okay.
and I'm still editing it down, so it's like 23 minutes. So hopefully we'll get down to 18 minutes. The whole point is that I talk about all of that on that 10-year retrospect.
Oh, I'm
But
gonna have to watch that.
yeah, it was a fun time when I started Geekazine, and yeah, there were definitely some challenging times. I have some things that I still need to clean up from these last few years, and there were some points where ramen noodles were the food of choice
Right.
for a while. But now I'm working with a few people, and I've been working with other podcasters and videocasters who've got their start and are probably even popular than me that can attest to what I showed them, what I did, and help them along.
Yeah, yeah, no, you really I think grew up. You're one of the if I say the OGs of the geek streaming and tech, live video. So I really think you are one of up there. And I think I interviewed Luria Petrucci on this show some episodes back. Had a great interview
Hmm.
with her, and again I think I would consider her right there with you in terms of she
Oh yeah.
started probably even before you did. And were you, who are some of the people that influenced you, inspired you as you were transitioning into Geekazine and doing this full time?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, there's a lot of different people. I was watching a lot of tech podcasts. So if you've never heard of the Tech Podcast Network,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of them. Todd Cochran and them. But we went. He then inspired me to go to CES, Consumer Electronics Show, and I met Andy McCaskey, who he came from broadcasting. So he had that broadcast idea taking to the new media space, and he brought me on my first paid gig
Mm-hmm.
outside of anywhere, and I think that's the first time I've actually got to see Wirecast in action
Mm-hmm.
was the videos that we did there, and since then, it's just been I grow it and grow it and grow it and got a pretty good business and we've got I'm working with some friends of mine, my friend Alistair Cook, who's part of what's called the V Brown Bag, which is enterprise tech education, which is really awesome. And we're building a vertical off of that called Build Day Live, where we go to some of these companies and we actually build architecture into our enterprise center.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Actually, I have it on my desktop now, so Deborah, if you could pull this up. We have the vbrownbag.com, and we'll circle back and talk about how Wirecast fits into all this. But this is your website, vbrownbag.com, which you're doing with Alistair Cook. And
That's technically it's technically not my website.
okay,
That is their website,
their
but
website.
I'm working with them
You're
on
working
that,
with them.
and we have Build Day Live, which eventually will have a website for that.
Okay.
So
Eh,
it's a partnership on the Build Day Live, but the V Brown Bag, it's mostly volunteer people
okay.
talking about enterprise and go out to conferences. Like, for instance, we were just at VM World,
Mm-hmm.
and they do what's called they're basically tech talks.
Mm-hmm.
And these sessions, people have like 10, 15 minutes to present in front of a theater audience, and these are usually non-CEO roles, so it's somebody you wouldn't normally see in a presentation talking about a product, that mostly the engineers talking about the product, which made it so they could actually so people could relate to it.
Right.
So it's all based on education. It's great, and we were, like I said, we were at VMworld. We got in the schedule builder, so we had so many sessions. It was amazing. The influx of accounts or of people that came in to talk. I was taken back of
Wow.
what Alistair built, and Alistair, if you talk to him, he says, well, I saw you 5 years ago, and I said I got to do that myself, and so
So you kind of
that's pretty
led
cool.
him, you sort of inspired him to do this in the enterprise world.
Yeah, I parted the Red Sea to New Zealand, and he took the road and started over. So.
Yeah, so and then it looks like there's a great YouTube channel around this. Now, this is some high level stuff. This is definitely if you're dealing with large systems that, in big business or large installations, this is some pretty,
Yeah.
in-depth stuff. It's definitely not for your run-of-the-mill person, but I love how sort of casual it is and kind of how they're talking about really complex stuff, but they're not,
Yeah.
it's not all dressed up.
Well, some of these are simply webinar type things, and what you have up right there right now is one of our build days. This is the Simplicity 380,
Uh-huh.
which we just did 2 weeks ago at Hewlett Packard Enterprise,
Okay.
and it was an amazing time. We got to put in a hyperconverged Simplicity 380 into a data center, which we actually bring our own data center into their environment to set it up.
Oh, you do.
And
Okay.
uh, and we'll be doing that again. We're going to have another live stream actually on the 16th of this month. We'll
Okay.
be at a company called Datrium,
Mm-hmm.
and then next month we'll be in Tel Aviv live streaming for a company called Ravello, which is cloud software. The Oracle just purchased them
Uh-huh.
I think about a year ago or something like that, and they've been really rocking it. And they asked us to come out and show people how to install their systems into their data centers.
Okay, and so do you have to rehearse this before, like go out and try it and before you attempt it live, or is part of the fun that
Yeah,
you just stumble through it
no,
as you go?
this is a whole week that we do this. Like for instance, for Datrium, I'll be leaving this Sunday for Sunnyvale, California. So cold to warm, yeah, I'll
You'll
take
take
that.
it.
And so we'll gotta get out to Sunnyvale. We'll do at least two dry runs. So we'll basically install this is a DVX system from Datrium. We'll install that in what they call open converged software, and we'll run through all the tests. Then we'll wipe it all clean.
Hmm.
Excuse me. We'll wipe it all clean, and then we'll do another dry run if we have time. We'll wipe it all clean, and then of course we'll do it live. We won't. It's nothing. Oh, we already have one in the oven. We don't do that type of stuff.
Right.
Everything that happens live. So if there's a
Yeah.
mistake, you get to see it.
Yeah, yeah. But you've at least had a little experience doing it before, so you're not completely boring to watch because,
Oh yeah,
yeah, makes
yeah.
sense.
We
Um,
do we also pre-record segments,
okay.
and that way when things have a long time to configure, we can go to a segment and then come back.
How does this find its audience?
A lot of promotion. We constantly work on it, just like anything else. I mean, you got to have press releases. You've got to have emails going out to your audiences. We put up a promo video
Hmm.
for the build days 2 weeks in advance, and then we if it's on Facebook, we boost it. If it's on YouTube, we promote it.
Hmm.
So put some money behind it, and treat it like a business.
Hmm.
And because if a mom and pop shop doesn't have an ad in the local paper, doesn't have a billboard, and maybe a radio or TV ad, then there's a chance that they're not going to be around next year.
Right.
And if you don't treat your business like that, I'm not saying put a billboard up on your street or anything like that, but at least put some sort of advertising in, towards the group that want to see that type of stuff.
Hmm.
Then you got to do it. You just
Yeah.
got to do it.
Do you monetize the content directly? Do you have like paywalls for any of it? Do you try to, or is it always open to whoever wants to see it, and you just sort of run promotions against it, or?
Everything is opened. Everything is pre-sponsored.
Hmm.
The tech talks are usually sponsored by the either the conference that we go to, or in the case of VMworld, we had some third-party companies that did that. Build Day Live, Datrium is sponsoring it full outright because in the end, they want you to consider their products
Hmm.
into your data center.
Hmm. So you said,
But other than
oh,
that,
go ahead.
then just YouTube monetization and stuff like that.
Got it. You mentioned that you take a data center with you to these places. So when you say data center, what do you mean? What do you bring with you on location? Are you bringing a few, HP servers, or what are you bringing with you?
Not that intense, but it's basically a couple. I don't know what Alistair has in the box nowadays, but it was a couple Intel Nooks when we started.
Uh-huh.
A and just something that can mimic the data center, because you don't need to have a whole data center
Right.
to have a test. In fact, when I used to do data centers, I would actually image all the servers, and then I would put them into a virtual environment onto one desktop
Mm-hmm.
just to see how they run, because they're not servicing hundreds or thousands of people, so they don't need to have that many cycles running. They just have to have enough to keep running themselves, just
Right.
the base.
Right.
So in his case, he's got enough computer power to do that, and network. In fact, we had the last one we did, the one before we were at Pure Storage, and Alistair needed to change the network switch, because we were just running simple 1 gigabyte network switches, and he needed a little bit more power than that. So it's ever expanding, but it's got to stay underneath a 50-pound limit so it can
Get on
travel
the
across the
airport. Yeah,
seas.
airplane. Yeah.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to talk a little bit about how live streaming fits into this and how Wirecast fits into this. Where
Mhm.
does Wirecast fit into both your activities with the enterprise, build day lives, the V Brown bag, and also with Geekazine and what you do there? How have you been using it? What does it do for you that you couldn't do, without it?
Oh, lots of things. Lots of things. I mean, yeah, I could do the regular talking head in front of a webcam,
Mm-hmm.
and anybody can do that with a computer.
Right.
But I wanted to have graphics. I wanted to have lower thirds. I wanted to have the ability to switch over to pre-recordeds, or go live to Boston with Joe or something like that. And so, like I said, when Wirecast came around, I was fiddling with other programs such as CamTwist, and I just felt that this was kind of the step in the right direction for a more uh, professional production.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, like I said, I started using it and never really looked back after that.
Now, one thing I found was a common theme with a lot of vloggers and video makers, YouTube stars, and so forth, is once they got their hands on a live production software like Wirecast, that they almost stopped using their editing software. Like before, they would take a camera, they'd hit record, they'd take their movie clip, they'd drop it into Final Cut Pro,
Mhm.
or they into ScreenFlow or something, and edit it, and then upload it later. But once you started getting the hang of doing some live stuff and work with the live production, we found that a lot of people would actually just start using that even for their not live videos and their pre-recorded videos. Did you find that Wirecast kind of worked its way into even your pre-recorded stuff?
Oh yeah, I definitely use, because right now in my studio, you really can't see the studio right now, but the camera is really across the room, and it's sitting behind a teleprompter that I built myself. So when I go to talk about a product like maybe this lens cap or something like this, I have some talking points that I can see as I'm talking to the camera instead of my monitor, which is over here, because
Mm-hmm.
you don't want me to look like this the whole time. So
Right.
the whole point is that um, yes, I wanted, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Um,
Yeah, how do you use it for pre-recorded videos?
Oh yeah, with pre-recorded videos. So basically, instead of me walking over to the camera, hitting record, come back, sit down, I could actually go to my computer and hit the record here, and then do my scripting and stuff like that. And then I could take all that video into what the program I use, which is well, it's now Magix owns. It's called Vegas Studio,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, Vegas Movie. Yeah,
Yeah, so you could still chop pieces of it, but you can get large chunks or segments done just with the Wirecast on the fly,
exactly,
which is cool.
exactly. And even now with YouTube Live, and I tell everybody this when they say, "Well, how can I do the YouTube Live? What's the best way to do it?" It's like when you go to record on YouTube Live, and hopefully Facebook Live will eventually do this. You start with just an overall graphic and say, "Hey, I'm starting," and then give them a couple minutes to show up, and then you do your video, and then if you make any mistakes, that's okay. Stop and just kind of reset yourself and go from there. And then when you're done, you can go back in, and YouTube has got an editor simply for those videos, those shorter, if you're doing like a 15-minute video, you can edit at those videos right away. So you can take out the tails. So you can have like a 5-minute countdown or something like that, and then take that out. And then within a day or two, nobody will even know that that countdown existed. Or if you made a mistake, you mark down, okay, at 3 minutes, I made this mistake. You go to the 3-minute mark and you chop that part out and go from there. So you can do a lot of stuff through Wirecast that push it straight to YouTube and then do your editing from YouTube as well.
All right. Yeah, no, I think that's a great tip that YouTube has a built-in live editor. I can't wait. I would love
Which is
Facebook
not
to get
going
that.
away, by the way.
That's good to know.
Some people are thinking that it's going away, but it wasn't. It's not the actual editor for each video that was going away. It was the overall add clips from different videos that's going away, and they're going to make a better version of it within the coming year.
Google bought a cloud editing company, basically a software
Hmm.
company that basically specialized. I forget the name of them, but they were pretty cool. And I think they just wanted to pull that tech right into the YouTube editor, and I think they did. And they're planning to maybe
Yeah,
expand that even more.
yeah, and of course you guys have partnerships with YouTube, don't you?
Yeah, so Google and Telestream, but YouTube in particular with Wirecast is a long-standing partnership that we had for and did the first Wirecast for YouTube several years ago, I think almost
Hmm.
a while back
That's a
now.
great program. Yeah.
But yeah, and it's we still make a very stripped down version of Wirecast just if you want to go to YouTube alone. So and you can get that straight from as you go to like choose your encoder in YouTube. So I do recommend that if that's something you guys are looking for. I want to check in a few comments and then we'll circle back just to say hi. I've been kind of ignoring some of our viewers and the audience comments. So if you have a question for Jeff or any of you've seen some of his work in the past or you have questions about how he does his videos, please ask those now. Get this guy while you can. He knows so much. He's been doing videos, as you know, for more than 10 years. And he really, really is good at this stuff. And I was actually, Jeff, going to ask you, while I give the audience a chance to ask any questions that are occurring to them, do you, when it comes to streaming live to YouTube, do you have an opinion on whether you should stream to your Stream Now channel or stream to an event?
With an event you can promote.
Mm-hmm.
With a stream now, it just happens. So I always create a new event
Mm-hmm.
when I have the ability to. That way, it gives me at least a half hour or an hour for people to realize, hey, there's something happening.
Mm-hmm.
If it's right away. Stream now is perfect for. I set up like for instance CES when I can get bandwidth at CES because
Right.
it's really tough.
Right.
But when I try to do live at an event like that, then I'll set up something a little bit more longer term. But I'm never using Wirecast. I'm usually using Wirecast Go.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Wirecast Go now? Or I'm
Yeah,
not.
it's Wirecast Go. So Wirecast
Yeah,
Cam went away. Wirecast Cam
Cam.
was
That's
just
right.
the
Yeah.
LAN local cam, but that functionality is coming right into Wirecast Go. So you should see that in an update for Wirecast Go really soon.
Yeah.
So don't. Yeah, that'll be really cool. When now
Yeah.
there'll just be
Because
one app. It'll do everything you need to do. Whether you're on remote LTE, you want to call in with Rendezvous, or whether you want to actually use it on the local network.
Yeah. Because right now I'm using all the NDI stuff, which is just amazing. Kudos to New Tech
It is
for
cool.
coming out with those protocols because I just got the Connect Spark. I put 8.1 onto my MacBook Pro down here. Then I realized I was on beta 2 of High Sierra and I had to wipe that off before I could do it. But 8.0 couldn't, the Spark didn't connect for some
Right.
reason. But
It was
8.1,
because the Spark does SDK3 and 8.1
yeah,
also
okay.
does SDK3 for NDI.
So yeah, once I saw that, I was just like, oh, this is bonus. So, and I can't wait to really use the Spark into my workflow, which has changed in even in the last couple months with
Really?
this new MacBook Pro. Yeah.
So tell me, a little bit about that and what you do and what's changed. And just a comment here from Alex. He says Jeffrey Powers is awesome. Does Jeff use an audio mixer or does he rely on Wirecast? So why don't we use that as a segue into your workflow and how it's changed a little bit?
Okay. To answer that question, yes.
You do use Mixer.
I have a mixer and I use Wirecast. It really depends on the situation. Like here in my studio, I have a QSC Touch Mix 16. Now, first of all, keep in mind I'm also a musician.
Mm,
So I when I buy something, I buy stuff for podcasting, video casting, and
music.
music.
Got it.
So this is 16 channels as a 16 channel mixer. And the best part about this mixer is it replaces what they would have brought in racks of stuff into a nightclub or something like that just to get the same sounds. So I use that and I do a lot of the pre-mixing from there. It's always a good idea to try and get everything pristine before it comes in the computer. The less processing the computer can do, the better.
Right.
But in some cases, you need a little bit of extra. So then I use the audio functionality. I'm a very big proponent of the audio functionality in Wirecast. And when I'm on the road, this mixer doesn't come with me. I have a small PreSonus, which is what's called the VSL 444, or I'm sorry, the 44 VSL. That's it. That's what it is. And it's just you plug it in via USB, and in that case, I don't have any gates or compressors or anything like that, and I have to use the the software in Wirecast to make sure that it just doesn't blow out your ears.
Right, the new audio processor, filters in the Wirecast Pro, which were added in 7. But you
Exactly.
must be loving some of the changes that came with 8 in the audio department.
Oh yeah. Well, the best part about this, the 44 VSL had one big problem when it came to recording onto the computer, and that was it was a four channel input,
Hmm.
but only two of the channels would work. So if you plugged anything into the channel 3 or 4, it
You wouldn't see it.
before Wirecast see it, yeah, you wouldn't see anything. Now with Wirecast 8, you go in to the audio into the sound area on the preferences, and then you choose channel 3 and 4 left or right,
Mm.
and next thing you know, boom, you got all your sound, and it's amazing what you can do now, and I still want more, but
Right,
as an
piece at a time.
audiophile, that takes time, and I'll accept that. So,
Yeah. Well, have you played around at all with the new multi-track, output in any way in Wirecast 8?
very little.
Okay.
I because simply because of the fact that it's just time
Yeah.
and what do I want to do? Because it would be nice to actually do something where somebody is doing something in Spanish and somebody is doing something in, I don't know, German or Chinese or something like that on the different tracks just to play with it. But you could even do like something like a surround sound
Hmm.
and or other tracks. And I just haven't had a chance to play with it
Well, if you get a
yet.
chance, send us a video. I'd love to see what you end up, what you mess around with, what you
Oh
kind of
yeah.
come up with. It'd be fun to see that.
Well, on
Um,
my YouTube channel, I do have Wirecast tutorials, and one of them is going to be on the tracks in the upcoming months.
Perfect. Well, I think your video on the new features in 8, I think you did way better job than I did on the same, what's new in Wirecast 8. So I loved your video on that. You did a
Thank
good
you.
job overviewing the features, and I really appreciate that. It looks like Astronomy Live is asking, what event can you test your stream with an event? Is it possible to test your live stream before you go live? I assume he's referring back to the YouTube question, events versus live streams. And yes, that's absolutely possible. If you want to stream to an event and test it and look at it, you don't have to push it live out to the audience, as long as YouTube will actually give you the analytics and tell you how it's receiving data from Wirecast and how it's doing. So events are, totally fine. The only danger with events, and maybe you can back this up, Jeff, is that once in a while, for whatever reason, this is maybe more back in the day. I don't know if I haven't really seen this or tried this recently, but once in a while an event would get corrupted, and you'd hit it and hit it, with the stream, and maybe even test, and then for whatever reason on YouTube servers, um, there would be a dropout or something where the connection would get dropped, and you couldn't get to stream back to that event. It was almost like it was considered completed or over,
Yeah.
and then everybody was going to the wrong URL.
Yeah. Well, first of all, 95% of the time when I set up my output, I don't set it up as a YouTube live event. I set it up as an RTMP, and then I go to the YouTube control page to manually preview it, to manually start the stream. Because the best part about it is it will sit there for I think up to 4 hours if you're not pushing anything content through it. And then at 4 hours, it'll say, okay, it's probably done, and then knock you off. But if in that 4 hour time, it's nothing but dead space, it'll just wait for you.
It can
And then when
hit
you
as
come back on,
many encoders as you want.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So you could hit it
In,
from 10 different computers during that 4 hours.
yeah, yeah. So if you have like big breaks in between in between what you're recording, like lunchtime or something like that, you can go away from lunch and not have the stream continue on. And or if I just did an event about a month ago where we were using wireless over a wired connection because we couldn't get a cable in. So the wireless kept resetting every 30 minutes or something like that because it was a very populated area. And because of that, it caused a lot of stumbles. But Wirecast just had to wait for YouTube to come back, and everything went back online. And all you see is just like a big old break in between the with no time difference.
Are you allowed to put a custom card up in between, or can you throw a card like we'll be back in 20 minutes or at
Oh yeah,
1:30?
yeah.
Well, I mean, if the stream's continuous, obviously, but if the stream's stops and on the YouTube control panel, you can throw up a custom thumbnail or JPEG or whatever.
Well, I put up the it puts up the image that you create
Okay,
for your YouTube event.
got it,
And so a lot of the time I put up if I'm doing 8 hour live stream, then I'm putting up the schedule up on that
got
at
it.
that time.
So that way it covers all your future occurrences.
Exactly.
Okay,
But a lot of times I'll just let it play and then I'll hit "We'll be right back" card if it's not like a 3 hour break or something like that.
got it. Makes sense. And just keep it going. What
Exactly.
when it's recorded and you're editing it then on YouTube in the editor we were just talking about, how
Hmm.
do those breaks show up? Everything gets just chunked into one long file, or are they
Yeah.
actually okay?
Yeah, the problem with the editor right now, and hopefully YouTube's going to change that a little bit, is if you go over an hour, I think it's 1 hour 30 minutes or something like that, you can't edit the file after the fact.
Hmm.
Just like if it had over 100,000 views, you can't edit the file after the fact because
Hmm.
they don't want you to change the message in the file
Right,
simply because you know you have the traffic for it.
right, right. It makes sense. They have a cutoff, so that's true with over an hour and a half footage as well. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So Adam says he's been using Wirecast since version 4, and so
Sweet.
Adam, thanks for tuning in with that. And Jeffrey, you came on what about version 3, version
Three.
4?
Yeah. Version 3, yes.
Okay. All right.
So, and then I got 4 shortly after that. Um, and because I was doing a show at that time called the OTT, which is over the top television, and I was using it to bring another guest in, and then of course streaming it to I think it was Ustream still at the time,
Got it.
and yeah, we talked about Roku players and YouTube and all the other OTT type cord cutting type stuff.
Are you surprised at all at the sort of success of Roku and how well they're doing? I mean, they seem to not they're not going anywhere.
No, they're not going anywhere. I have well, I have Roku, I have a Chromecast, I have an older Apple TV. I need to get the newer Apple TV,
Yeah, I'm seeing
and
your
and
interview
the
here
Fire.
or your
Yeah,
review 4 years ago on all three
yeah,
on YouTube. It's one of your most popular videos.
yeah. I need to update that one too. So, thanks for giving me more work.
No problem.
And anyway, so yeah, they're all great, and I use them. I use them all the time in different situations. I mean, uh, for instance, I have a TV. It's the Vizio 50-inch SmartCast TV,
Hmm.
and every now and then I'll go to play something, and it might skip,
Hmm.
and it's like, well, this it I don't know why it's skipping. I really don't care. I want to watch the show. So I'll just end up flipping over to Roku and then it works there, or vice versa. Roku's not working too well, switch over to the other over the top television device, and all of a sudden it works.
Hmm. Interesting. So you use it
Yeah.
as almost redundancy and just, hedge your bets.
Amongst other things, I still have to test a lot of
Yeah.
programs, how my videos go across different networks and that.
Right. Do you have a Roku channel that you've developed
No,
for
no,
Geekazine? Is that on the
I
more
thought
work list?
no, it's on the I really don't know how to code that well list.
Hmm.
So
Well, apparently they just
I
launched kind of a drag and drop sort of thing now. So
okay.
you might want to check that out.
Well,
It's
definitely
much more
check that out.
templatized.
If that's the case, then I'll take a look at it a little bit more.
I was just
But a lot
watching
of
their
people,
talk at Stream Media West, and they gave a good one, so I liked it.
awesome, awesome. So yeah, a lot of the reality is a lot of people watch through the mobile devices over the and then the TV. So if anything, out of 100 users, it would probably be one or two.
Hmm.
If I'm really lucky, that would come from a TV based environment, but
Hmm.
it's still one or two.
Yeah,
It's still a nickel and dime game for anything.
true.
And
So do you when you're let's talk a little bit about your pace or your cadence for Geekazine. Do you try to put out a video a week? What's kind of your goal? Do you set sort of a little weekly kind of goal for yourself, but you don't necessarily disclose that publicly?
I, no, I used to. Well, when the Geekazine podcast happened, it happened every single Tuesday.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of things have changed because I'm doing a lot of different things. Like for instance, being gone all of next week, there might be a possibility I won't be able to do any videos
Hmm.
while I'm gone. So yeah, I don't have a every Monday or anything like that. But I do have regular videos that come out, and everybody knows that I go to CES. I go to NAB, National Association of Broadcasters. I'll be going to NAM, which is National Association of Music Merchants, because part of Geekazine is consumer tech and part is music tech.
Okay.
So I go to these events so they'll know that there's going to be content coming out from those events, and then of course, people picking up through searches and YouTube related videos.
Now, you say Geekazine, obviously is the play off the word geek and magazine. Do you have sort of a newsletter or some sort of publication that you put out?
No,
You don't.
no,
Okay, it's all video, all podcast, all through
yeah,
the
all
website
the
and the
time.
channel. Now, do you
Yeah,
have an email list that people can get on board with for notifications or anything they want in case they want to get up to date with Geekazine that way?
yeah. There was
There
yeah
was.
one time. Um, yeah, there is a area on Geekazine where you can sign up for the newsletter, and I can it's all through Mailchimp.
Okay.
So once I start doing that again,
Okay.
then which I should do. Thanks for reminding me. God,
Just
you're good at reminding me
I
to do
am. I'm
stuff.
just great at that right now. But yeah, no, I would love to get a weekly or maybe just a monthly Geekazine
Oh yeah,
newsletter because that really would be my, I'd be like, what's Jeff up to? What's new? What's he think is really cool these days? Or
exactly.
I think it'd be great. So yeah, you should
And
definitely get on that,
emails,
if only just so I can get that newsletter.
yeah, and emails are it's still the best way to publicize something.
Right. And I think
You
so.
know,
I think you're right.
yeah.
So okay, well, I think we kind of covered a lot of ground here. I would love to get kind of a final, if anybody has a last couple questions you want to ask, and then I've got just one or two to wrap it up. But then we'll kind of call it a day here. But Jeff, What is your opinion on like must-have gear that you just, if you're a video producer, a podcast producer, and maybe make live streams or YouTube videos, what is sort of your grab bag? If you were, for example, you're run out to, California next week, and you are in the hotel room, I mean, what are the types of kit that you would bring with you that you just need, and take with you wherever you go to make sure you have that ability to reach out to your audience?
My kit is pretty immense
Mm-hmm.
because my travel kit includes a standalone Sony camera, uh, my Canon M5 for mostly for still images, but as a secondary camera. Then I have a PTZ Optics 20 SDI, 20X SDI, and of course the NewTek Connect Spark, which then hooks up to another laptop for any type of desktop to desktop video.
Mm-hmm.
And the PreSonus. My capture system is Magewell Pro 4 Connect inside of an enclosure, Sonnet ES1, I believe it is,
Mm-hmm.
which is a Thunderbolt 3 enclosure that goes into the MacBook. So, and then of course stands and I got a couple light panel stands that come with me. So literally I take over 50 pounds worth, in one suitcase
That's a lot.
whenever I go on the
It almost
road.
sounds like you're
But
taking your whole studio with you.
well, that's the idea. Is a lot of the stuff that we do is going to be on a little bit more. It's not the amateur range, but it's not the total professional range. It's still professional, but it's as condensed as possible.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that actually answers Alex's question here, which is what capture cards you use and how many. And so a single 4-channel capture card
Yeah,
in a Magewell box, or sorry, in a Sonnet enclosure, will allow
yeah.
you to take that Mac wherever you go. You're clearly a Mac guy.
No, I'm clearly a PC guy, but
Ah.
I live in both areas. When I started as an IT administrator, I was a Windows 95 support agent
Uh-huh.
yeah, through a contract through Microsoft. So I learned from a long time ago on Windows, and I like Macs. I don't diss them by any means, and I know you need them. And so I do have a MacBook Pro which I use for travel, but when I'm here in the studio, it's all done on Windows.
It's on Windows. So that's that Magewell card, that quad channel. Is it really just for the road? You don't use it in the studio much?
Not yet. I'm going to be working, hopefully in the next couple months, on a desktop build to show people how, with Thunderbolt 3, you can turn your desktop into a modular thing. So I could actually hook up that card onto my desktop, and then when I'm on the road, take it with me.
That'd be cool. I'd love to see
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
All right, and a couple last minute few questions here. The YouTube chat very active, so thanks guys for tuning in. And I either
Sweet.
the Facebook, few people. Deb says hi. Niger, hi. Um, they've got some other questions. See Lutz and some other people as well as Vicky Lashenko tuning in. So good to see her. Um, so Jeff, this comes from Varkas, and it looks like there's a kind of an active sort of conversation going on. So I don't know if I'll be able to get the entire gist of it in just a few brief glances here, but um, so the first is price point. So they're wondering about the Magewell plus the Sonnet enclosure. They're wondering if that's around the $2,000 mark if you're going to put all that together yourself.
Less than that.
Less than that? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Magewell was 800, and I think that was the single enclosure. The SE1 was only like 250 or something like that.
Yeah, so 1,000, almost half what they're
Yeah,
guessing. So
about 1100 you'd see on that.
that's a great price.
And then the MacBook Pro is like
Right,
3500.
right, because it's Apple. Um, and then Alex, let's see. They've got some questions about audio, and the YouTube saves. Oh, that's a good question. I think we were all kind of wondering this. So your headset model, the mic you're using right now, is that what model is that?
I couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell. That's funny.
Amazon. I found one on Amazon
Okay.
that worked with the this. Let's see. The base is the
XLR?
It's the Shure Beta
Okay.
adapter,
Okay.
and it worked. But if you go on Amazon, you'll find some stuff, but you got to watch out because some of it will work, some of it won't, because it's meant for a specific model. So I wish I could tell you on this one, but I use Sony wireless microphones, and I just bought this one. I don't have it behind me, I guess, but I just bought one for my Sony, and it works perfect. So I wish I could tell you, but
So
I can't.
you feed that into the Shure Beta. Is that the transmitter?
No,
Wireless transmitter?
it's just the XLR adapter
Okay.
to which then and
So
then
it's
just
coming
goes
from the
straight
headset. Is
into.
it just eighth inch? Like what's the headset termination point? Like
Oh,
what's
it's mini XLR.
mini
It's what's
XLR?
called the 4TL. It's you have 3TL, which is a 3 pin, and then 4TL, which is a 4 pin. This is the 4 pin,
Got it.
and then that goes into
To the
just a
adapter.
regular XLR cable. And then of course the mixer has to be phantom powered,
Right.
so it can hear what I have to say.
Yeah, well, it works really well, and I think it's a
Thank
great,
you.
great mic, and it's sort of something I'm used to seeing on a lot of your videos.
Yeah, then the biggest problem was last year. I don't know, a lot of people know this, but last year I developed what's called Bell's palsy, where half of my face just kind of stopped working,
Oh, okay. I'm
and
sorry.
it was this half of the face, and it's gotten a lot better in the last year. It's a very slow process, but a lot of these headsets, they're only left side.
Right.
So when I was talking, you could only hear this part and like that. So I had to duct tape the microphone to the other side.
Got it. Got it. Interesting behind the scenes note there. All right. Well,
Oh yeah,
Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really had a great
thank
time
you.
talking with you, and it's really fun to just kind of geek out with the
Oh yeah.
Geekazine Master.
One thing I want to promote before I go, I'd be
Yeah.
very remiss
And we
if I
have a
don't.
card where people can get more information, so I'd like to throw that up too.
Yeah, but if you are going to South by Southwest this year,
Hmm.
I will be doing a live stream meetup. They do meetups at South by Southwest,
Hmm.
and a lot of new media meetups, and I will be running the live stream meetup.
Awesome.
There is no time as of yet. You just have to watch the schedule
Okay.
as to the when and where. But we'll definitely be talking about live streaming, and whether it be through your phone or through Wirecast or through any other means.
I would love to get down there for that. I actually haven't made it to South by Southwest yet, and I know it's coming into its own. Obviously, with the Periscope and the Meerkat
Hmm.
debut there, and that's where Al Roker and there's just more stuff going on there as far as in our industry and what we do. And I'd love to get down there for that. So I'll keep
You
you posted.
should. You should come on down.
I will if I can for sure. We're gonna make that list this year. 2018 trade shows to go to.
There you go.
All right. Where can folks get more information about you and what you're doing?
Geekazine, Think Magazine, put in a geek. You got me. Everything. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Plurk, um, Baidu. I don't know. There's a whole. Wherever there is, I put Geekazine in. So
Well,
there you are.
congratulations on your 10-year anniversary. You,
Thank you.
sir, are an icon.
Thank you. You're an icon too.
Oh, no, you. I said
And
first.
thanks. Okay. And thanks to everybody in that chat that asked questions. If you have any questions, feel free to Twitter me, and I will continue the conversation there.
Fantastic. And we will put a link to that card for folks if they need to get more information or find you where they need to find you. All right, Jeff, we will have you on again. Thanks again for your time, being generous with it, and
Thank
have
you.
a great build week next week.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll see you again soon. Thanks.
All right.
All right, folks, that was Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine. As you know, he has been doing this a while, and he really is a great guy. He knows so much about not just live streaming, not just video and audio tech, but music tech and even enterprise and VM tech. So it was really fun to just talk about this wide-ranging set of topics with him because there's not that many people that we can get into on that stuff with and can talk to the level that he can talk to. So I really hope you got something out of that, and it was fun to just shoot the breeze with somebody who's been with Wirecast since the early days and has been doing tech content since podcasts were going through their first wave. We're currently going through the second wave of podcasts, but he was on the first wave with those. So hope you enjoyed that. And next week, don't forget, we will have Brian Brawdy, and we'll be talking about building your business and serving others through live streaming. It should be a fun conversation. He's another really friendly, outgoing guy, and he has a wonderful story to tell. Tune in for that. And if you need to get notified on when that is live, again, it's 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, but we will send you an email if you sign up on the email list. This is a good place to go get notified. You can also find us or follow us on any of the social media channels, most of them anyway. Wirecast Tube at YouTube, Telestream Wirecast on Facebook, and at Wirecast on Twitter. Send us a tweet or a hashtag. Let us know how you're doing, or if you have questions. We have a bunch of great people here who can help you. You can also just come here and ask questions in the chat. You can see here on the Facebook and the YouTube chat a lot going on and people answering questions. We've got folks back scenes here at Telestream chiming in, and then we also have other experienced users who are here each week that can help you. So it's a great place to just come hang out, get some good information, watch some good interviews, and get some great new tech news and information. So hope to see you next week for that show. And I'd like to thank our sponsors for the show, or partners. I always say sponsors, a little bit of both. A lot of this is made possible by AJA and Archon, Blackmagic, Magewell, New Blue Effects, Prompter People, PTZ Optics, Skype. Jeff actually is came in live on from his home in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. And we also want to thank Wowza and Virtual Setworks. So thanks so much to everybody. We'll see you guys here next week. Same time, same bat channel. All right, see you then.